Yes.
Media. Yeah.
Good evening, boys and girls. Happy Friday. It's Casual Friday here at HSHQ. Vinny's in town. Please stand clear of those discussion doors. The next stop is indeed Highbury Squad, and you know what day it is. That's right. It's Kevin Says. Vinny can't contain himself with the excitement. I think I was muted the whole time. Okay, good evening, everybody. It is indeed Kevin Says. We've got some technical, fantastic things happening here. Back in the house is my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
How you doing, Sophie? Okay. Hi, squaddies.
Hi, squaddies. Good evening, everybody. At ease. Everyone's already rolling in chat. Good evening to the regular crew. Hope everyone is really well. Kev, you having a good Friday?
It's been busy, been good, busy, and some technical stuff going on, which I'm telling you now, something's going on in this world. I'm telling you. Because 1 minute it works and the next minute it don't. So something's going on.
Yes, they're watching us, Kev. They're all watching us. They all want to know. And you are right, Martin. It is on, baby. You know it's Friday. Newman is saying already Vinny's had enough of Arteta. Here we go. Here we go. Good evening to everyone who's in the house. We made it to the end of another week. Big game ahead this weekend. Let's not waste any time. Kevin has his 3 questions ready for you. And we're going to have a conversation a little bit at the end about the media as well. I shared a video that Kevin sent out to the Arsenal Nation yesterday, and I think it's important that we touch on that as well. In the meantime, let's get rolling.
Hi, everyone. This is Kev Says, new season. And here we go. We're going to get straight down to it, everybody. Question number 1. I know there's a lot of people who want Arteta out. Does sacking the manager solve the problem? Does it? Does it solve the problem? So, question 1.
Kev, your eyes scared me in that. You're like, does it solve the problem?
Does it solve the problem?
Oh, my goodness. I tell you something, I'm just going to agree with you after the look in your eyes on that one. You had those hungry eyes you did when you were 16 years old playing for the Arsenal. That was incredible. So let's get to it. Vinny, quiet for crying out loud.
Vinny's like, does it, Ek? It don't solve it.
He's like saying, no, it doesn't. It's because I showed him a picture of Gunnosaurus earlier and he got a little bit excited. Our new striker. Let's get to everybody's comments. Akram says it wouldn't solve our problems. Rocky says he's really looking forward to this season. Wow. Well, there's a refreshing comment in the house. Let's get back to the very top. Right now, I'm not sure if it does solve our problems, because if you're going to bring someone in, Kevin, it's got to be, I'm not even sure Antonio Conte coming in can deal with what the Arsenal have to deal with. But I saw something today that we've spent the most of any club so far this season.
Well, let's be honest, Soph. We have needed to, but we're playing catch up. So we have to. And we have to go again before the window's out. I'm like that. I'm hope they prove me wrong, that they bring in a lot more players. But we're in a difficult situation. There's a lot of work to be done.
Well, Dion says Arteta out. Arnie says no way. Akram, I put that up. He doesn't think so. Matthew says it will solve a problem for a short time. Christopher, like me, says it depends on the replacement. Again, Topher says the same thing. Good evening, Liz. You're awesome as well. Welcome to the show. Clock Orange says, yes, if we get, I think he means Conte, and that will solve the problem. See, the thing with Conte, Kev, is that he wants mucho moolah, right? He left Inter Milan for a reason. And that is because he knew they were going to sell their best players and they were suffering financially. So the idea of him coming to Arsenal doesn't seem to be the fit for me. He's the kind of guy that could end up at PSG next, right? Or Man City next, maybe. He needs like Mourinho, like Pep. They need the funds, right?
They need money. And let's be brutally honest here, Sophie. I think a lot of people complain about Edu and Arteta, but if you really look at the players who they've brought in, not everyone's worked, but the type of player and the profile of the player who's been coming in has been fine. Has been fine as far as I'm concerned. Our problem is we don't have the money.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'll give them credit. I mean, we've spent 140 million so far, and the window's not quite shut yet. You're hoping that right back might come in. People are talking about a centre forward. It might have to be one or the other. They were hoping that maybe a couple more players would go out the door, Kev, before we were able to arc the total plan in the transfer window. Martin says this one for you. No, Arteta's trying to save us from ourselves and build a new team. Let it happen. Stephen, very simply, no. Next question. Craig says, I think it does. But Craig, you got to tell us if you think it does, why and how. Okay. And Double Ducky says no, but instant gratification is quick. I think it's quick, Kev, if you are a Chelsea, because you have that culture and that model, that quick turnaround, that revolving managerial door. You know, Lampard goes out, whoosh, Tuchel comes in, and they've got much higher standard of players in order to be able to do that. No matter who they've sacked, whether it's Ancelotti, Di Matteo, they've always had a good squad over the last 10, 15 years, haven't they, Chelsea?
Yeah, for a top manager to come in and build the plan. He can build the plan. If you've got world-class players, Soph, you can build the plan a lot quicker. Why? Because they're used to having those demands on them. They're used to having to be consistent. That is why clubs spend such big money on these guys. Unfortunately, we haven't been there for such a while. And if you look at our last really great side, that was put together, piece of George Graham's guys, and Arsene Wenger brought some flair to the table with some steel. You meshed that together, and then that brought the Invincibles in the end, which was great. But we've never been back there since.
No. And to be honest, I think we mentioned it the other night. Like even Manchester United struggled when they haven't won the Premier League since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. That's Manchester United, who've been the most prolific team in the Premier League since its inception in '92.
And look how much they've spent, Soph.
And they've spent a ton of money. And and to be fair to Mourinho, he's the one that delivered the Europa League and the League Cup for them. And
and finished second.
And finished second. So Universal Greek says sacking the manager creates a new problem that will need solving in double quick time. I know you're going to give us your responses as you do always at the end, but that's a really good point, Kev, because sometimes a knee-jerk reaction, although this might be a bit more thought process driven because he's been there 19 months, but just because you sack someone doesn't mean it solves all of the problems.
Yeah, Sophie, here's the thing I'm thinking of for the squaddies and yourself. I know it's quite controversial that Mikel Arteta gets more time because people want instant gratification. They want the team to, if your Thanos switched it, bang, the team's going to be up there and challenging. But if you actually look at our squad, nobody can tell me without heavy investment that Antonio Conte could turn this team into a challenger. Nobody could tell me that because Arsene Wenger, who's done it before, couldn't do it. Unai Emery, you know what he can do with so-called lesser players and lesser teams. He couldn't do it. Freddie had a little stint. Mikel Arteta's a novice who's coming in, who's learned his trade. He's trying to change the culture. And I think that's what we've got to take into consideration. The culture has to change.
Yeah, that has been one of the toughest pills to swallow being an Arsenal fan is the loss of our DNA and our culture. coming from being a perennial winning team and a team that was always competitive, even when they weren't winning. That's the difference. That's the key, and I think Arsenal fans would just like to start there a little bit. I'm going to put Topher's comment up for you, Kev. Less than a handful of managers could just come in and change our fortunes like that. It's a long journey. And I guess some fans would respond to that and say, well, how long is this journey going to be? Well,
for
17
Liverpool,
years.
It was 30 years. So
yeah. Yeah.
When we're talking Liverpool, 30 years. So we're at 17.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the thing for this question for me, and Liz, I agree with you that Odegaard signing really turns it around. The thing for me, Kev, is if we were playing better football and competing a little bit more, I think some fans would be a little bit more patient. But because of the style of football we're playing, and some fans feel like there's no identity, there's no cohesiveness, there's no consistency, I think that's where the rubber meets the road for a lot of them. If we could have just put in an effort and hit the post 10 times against Brentford and lost somehow, everyone would be like, well, that was unlucky, or we played really well. How did we lose that game? I think those nuances are the difference.
Yeah, I think just like everything, Soph, when you're bringing new players in, sometimes it happens quick. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. I'm not saying it's going to take season after season. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's not just going to happen overnight, unfortunately. But again, when you're turning players over and you're spinning this squad, which is a little bit of what I'm going to explain at the end, I think there has to be some leeway because we've had one game. Yeah, it was Brentford. We didn't show up. Basically, what we showed is we showed our inconsistencies in that game. Mikel Arteta needs his strongest 11 as possible out there as quickly as he can.
Absolutely.
In my eyes.
Yes, because we've said, as bad as we are with Oba not scoring goals, he does offer something to the team, as do players like Laka, because they can drag defenders with them. They can create space. They can open up doors for other players like Saka, ESR, whoever's playing. And hello, Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Welcome to the house. When I say some fans, do you mean yourself, Sophie? Of course. I put myself in that bracket. If we'd have played Brentford at a higher level with intensity, with integrity, and worked so hard to try and get something out of that match, Kev, I would have said, you know what? It's a terrible result, but at least we are seeing.
You could see they had a goal. They
absolutely.
had a real goal. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But Sophie, hasn't that been our problem for years?
Yes, in the Premier League. Yes.
Yeah, in the Premier. And this is the point I'm trying to make. 4 managers down, and that's still our problem. That's why they're trying to turn players over quicker. Because that mentality and that toughness, you have to, if you're going to win consistently, you have to have it.
Yeah, completely.
And we just don't have it at the moment.
I agree with that. And the follow-up there was Brentford was always going to be tricky. Yes, I actually said that we were going to lose that game. That's how tricky I thought it would be. There's another comment up here, Kev, where it talks about Arteta not learning. I can't find the comment right now, but it's about him maybe. Everyone expects the players to evolve and the team to evolve, but they've not really seen an evolution in his management in the last, especially season. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, don't forget, if Mikel Arteta, if the second half of the season was similar to the first of last season, he probably wouldn't be in a job, Sophie. So we did show some signs. But the key to it is we knew this summer is going to be the important one because he's got to make this squad his own. And there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of ins and outs and comings and goings. And Sophie, if we're honest, a lot of the work that has to happen has to be getting players out. Because a lot of them are dead wood. What's the point in having them around? I think David Ilya said the other day, on Tuesday, if we have to pay some of these guys off, we got to get them out. because they're taking up spots in the team which other people from the outside could be taking for the squad. People who are committed to the badge.
Well, and then we reward Xhaka, who wanted to leave and not wear the badge. So it's a little bit tricky. That's where a lot of fans also lose their minds, and I understand that sentiment. But I know you've said that who you're going to replace him with, and where do you go in order to?
I think we've struggled to replace him, Soph. I think that's the problem, Sophie. We have actually struggled to get in midfielders. We've been linked to Ruben Neves. We've been linked to all sorts of Bassoon. We've been linked to all sorts. We haven't got them in. The only one who's come in is Lokonga, and now obviously Odegaard, who plays a little bit further forward. They're the only ones we got. But in that midfield, who we want beside Partey, we haven't been able to recruit anybody.
I'm going to put Anik's comment up for you, because if you look at, we spent 27 million on Gabriel. We've spent the 45 million release clause for Thomas Partey. You know, he spent the money on the wages for Willian. We bought Cedric in, Runnison. You know, now we're seeing Lokonga, Tavares, Odegaard comes in. Anik says the club's backed Arteta with lots of money this window. We need to give the guy the season unless we can get Conte for a proper rebuild. I don't think Conte's a rebuild guy. I think Conte's a win now guy. He wants assets now to win now. But I do agree, as much as I'm not an Arteta fan, I don't give him the entire season, Kev, because we can't be in the bottom half of the table going into October and November in a similar situation, having had reinforcements in the last window and this window with no progress. Would you agree on that?
For me, it depends, Soph. Obviously, I don't want to be there. That's for sure. No, of course we don't. So I agree with that. But I think the key for Arsenal is getting our best team out there consistently. If we could get our best team out there consistently, I fancy ourselves against most teams. But our problem is we need Gabriel to partner Ben White at the back. We do need a right back, 100%. We might be able to get away with it for half a season, but that means Thomas Partey's got to be there in the midfield. We've got to be functioning up front, and we need better performances from our goalkeeper too. That's for sure. Yeah,
for sure. Let's see. Eluction. Why Lucas Torreira is sidelined? By the time we wake up, Arsenal will be fighting for relegation. Why was Xhaka made captain? We're just becoming Blackburn, Bolton, and Portsmouth. Well, hold on a second. I don't think we're becoming Blackburn Rovers. That's for sure. That's not happening. I don't think that. I don't know. Are the Cronkies as bad as the Venkies? Do the Venkies still own Blackburn Rovers?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Look, and Lucas Torreira, let's be honest, didn't want to play for Arsenal. So I don't get some of this. So if I'm honest with you, Lucas Torreira didn't want to come back to Arsenal. He doesn't want to play for Arsenal. He made it abundantly clear. And now all of a sudden, our fan base are talking about why is Lucas Torreira sidelined. Come on.
I really don't. I don't understand that at all. And he doesn't and hasn't want to play it. I don't want to reiterate what you've said. The whole meltdown about, so, we're going to give X a chance when Torreira is, available. Let's face it, Torreira he was good in spurts. His highlight was the 4-2 game against Tottenham at the Emirates. Mm-hmm. That was an iconic moment that we will all forever be grateful for. And I just don't. I think if we can offload him to a Fiorentina or a Lazio, those are the rumors about an Italian interest, Kev. I think those are the players you've got to start eliminating. If you don't want to play for the Arsenal, and again, I'll reiterate, I'm not an Arteta fan, but if you do not want to play for the club, you've got to go. And that's why people are upset about the Xhaka thing. So they can't separate the two,
No, and it's difficult. Can't. Yeah, and it is difficult, Sophie. But as a football club, if you've got someone in your building who could do a job, and it may not be the best job, Sophie, but can do a job, and you can't recruit for his position, why would you get rid of him if you can't replace him? Because that's then going to be the question after, isn't it? Why would you get rid of a player when you don't replace him? That's our problem. So look, who's to know what's going to go on? But I still believe we need another 1 or 2 in that midfield.
I'm going to put this up for you. Arsenal Queen saying that's lies, Casey. He is asked to fight for his place. Can I just make a comment before you respond?
Yeah,
Let me tell you something, Arsenal Queen. It's so all well and good saying you want to fight for your place now when you realize, number one, it's hard to sell you, and number two, you're not going to make the same money that you are making wearing the Arsenal shirt. No one's going to give you those wages, and you've realized that now because you've been out there and your agent's been out there, and I know that he had some personal issues too. But don't be telling me now after you've been at Disneyland for a couple of weeks, and I know there were COVID restrictions with Copa America and all that type of stuff, but you know what? If you're going to be in the gym, be at the gym at the club. I'm sorry. I'm so over this. He wants to fight for his place.
Yeah, but Sophie, that's lies. What is lies about Lucas Torreira doesn't want to be at Arsenal? Where is the lie? All of a sudden now, it's, I'm ready to fight for my place. We never heard that all of last year. Arsenal Queen. When did you hear that last year? Never heard it. He was at Atletico Madrid, started games at the beginning, but hardly played towards the end. Where was, I want to go back. I want to go and fight for my place. I want to help Arsenal. I never heard it. Did you, Sophie?
No, I never. Right. All I heard was how much he desperately wanted to get out of London. That's what I heard.
Yeah, so hopefully Arsenal Queen could sit back on her throne and have a think about
it. Well, what about LG? Even if that's the case, Sophie, we should still give him a chance. Why?
Well, somebody who don't want to play for the club, still give him a chance. Do me a favor. Listen, we've had players like this previously who are half-hearted. We don't want them at Arsenal because when the results don't go the way, what is leveled at the players? They don't care, or it's the manager's fault. The manager, if he's going to fall on his sword, might as well have committed players 100%. And then if he falls on his sword, knowing that the players had a go.
Exactly. And Akram, you're right. He said he was so desperate to go to Boca. And the problem is Boca don't have that kind of money, absolutely do not and cannot do that. And why should the club once again, this is the thing too. We've killed the club for making terrible decisions in the transfer market. We've killed the club for giving awful contracts, and rightly so. The people who gave these contracts and made these deals should be completely vilified for it. But now the club is saying, you know what? No, I'm not going to sell Xhaka for X amount. So if I can't get X amount and what Kevin has been saying to replace Xhaka, I'd rather keep him in this team because maybe, he was captain the other day, Kev. Maybe that's because Oba wasn't available, Laka wasn't available, and Bellerin was also captain, and someone put that in chat earlier as well. And I'm not defending Xhaka again or any of that. But you have to look at some of these things logically in the sense of don't kill the club if they're willing to hold on to a player who they can't get the value for. And maybe they've done a deal now to be able to sell him on next summer where they might get a little bit more value, even though I think his stock is the highest it's going to be after the Euros, Kev.
Yeah, look, Sophie, one thing we do know, Arsenal don't want to go into that position where another player runs his contract down. And I know fans will be like, look, we should just sell him and get the money. But the problem is the money that you get doesn't actually replace him. It's going to cost you a hell of a lot more to replace him. Now, if we could have got someone in, then you say, okay, we've got someone in, we could replace him. But we're light in that position as is. And we've seen the struggles El Neni has in that position and all those kind of things. So, again, I think if we're going to go for players, we need to go for players who are committed. We were talking on chat with Campbell yesterday on Lee Judges that the one player when Højbjerg had a go at Arteta, there's only one player who fronted up. That was Xhaka. Where was the others? Where was the fight? Again, that fighting spirit, he seems to have it. And I'm one who said I don't want him at the club. But he was the only one,
Because even though he wanted to move and he wanted a new opportunity, Kev, I think he's always been somebody who, despite the challenges that he's faced and stuff like that, he's always been somebody who has stood up, right? Front and center. Even when he's been killed.
Hid. He's never hid.
Right.
So, yeah, you're right. He's never hid.
Okay,
that's important, Soph. You know,
yeah.
For all of that, I want him out of the club and all that. One thing Granit Xhaka doesn't do, he doesn't hide. He always wants the ball. He always tries to play, etc. He may be limited at certain things at times. Yes, I agree. But you know what? Last season he was one of our better players in a tough season. So again, the manager respects him for that, and he is one of the leaders, whether we like it or not.
And exactly, we're not saying he's the best, but in this team, he offers something that maybe some of the other players can't. And Rich, good evening. Hope life is good in Turkey. Let's not make excuses for these flip-flop players. Get them out. No passion for the club badge out. Odegaard wants to play for Arsenal. Ramsdale wants to play for Arsenal. Lokonga wants to play for Arsenal. These players want to play for the Arsenal. And Superflee, we had the conversation about Guendouzi the other night. He did have fight, but clearly there's something wrong in terms of the character and the personality trait that Arteta wants to work with. Do I agree with it? No. Do I think it's unfair that he's picked favourites? Yes. Does it look bad when they give Xhaka a bridge back to the club after he told everyone to F off and he threw his shirt on the ground? Yes. But unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with. And so we can't change it. So we got to move on at some point. And talk about moving on. Let's get to the second video of Kevin.
I'll tell you what, Sol.
Yes.
26 minutes on that one. Whoa.
We'll shift quickly through these gears. How about that?
That was a good one.
Question number 2. Are there more problems at the Arsenal than meet the eye? That's question 2. Are there more problems at the Arsenal than meet the eye?
Are there more problems at the Arsenal than meet the eye? I think there have been more problems at the Arsenal than meet the eye for a while. And I think they've stemmed from the Wenger days to the Unai days and now with Arteta. When your culture's broken, Kev, it doesn't just mean on the pitch, in my opinion. It means what's happening off the pitch and behind the scenes. And when you say more problems than meets the eye, you're going beyond the owners here, right? You're not just talking about the obvious.
Talking about owners. Not talking about owners. Not talking about owners at all. I am talking about what really matters, the playing side and that dressing room. You know, that dressing room. Because you know what? So this is the important part of things is this. If Arsenal start winning, the fan base calms down. But we've never been able to be consistent. And is that because there's maybe a vein running through that dressing room that is not right? We know there were players that he had to get out, but now there's players he has to get out and others that he has to get in. He has to get the right character. Well, I don't want to go too much because that's part of my summary at the end.
Okay, so Jonathan says, yes, stockpiling average players on high wages, for example, Kolasinac. And this goes back to what I said, like those problems have stemmed from
legacy
problem.
But here's the thing though, Sophie. Kolasinac comes in on a free contract. We didn't pay for him. Mm-hmm. So we can't start saying he's on high wages. He's only on high wages because there was no transfer fee.
Yeah, but his wages, Kev, for a play like him, 120 grand a week.
Yeah, but there's no transfer fee, Sophie. That's why he's getting paid so well. Because the football club don't have to stump up 20 million for him and then a wage package. So it's actually saving the club money, believe it or not.
I'm going to put up a couple. There's a lot in here, Kev, talking about they don't buy the COVID issue. And some of them heard you on, I think it was it Lee or Tom's show as well?
Chat with Campbell yesterday,
and they don't buy it. A lot of fans don't buy it.
How many in the chat, Soph?
Right now, there's 400 people in live chat. You're going to
give me 200 likes. Hit it with your nose, nut it, punch it, smash it. Just give it a little touch. Or else we have to brock your neck. Come on now, people. 200 minimum.
I mean, you're seeing his eyes tonight, guys. He's not messing around. So the COVID thing, there's a lot of comments coming in about that. And I got DM'd about a few too, because a few people wanted me to ask you about that on as well. Here's the scoop. So Pulisic was diagnosed with COVID as well. They're going to be COVID cases every week. There will be COVID cases this season. The question is, how's the league and the team's going to deal with them, Kev? The issue, I think, is that our team's going to start hiding this stuff in order to play, so games don't get cancelled. Or if it was COVID, why wouldn't they just come out and say that from the beginning, Kev? Why would they wait an entire week and then immediately after the Brentford game, which was a terrible result, say Oba and Laka aren't going to be available for Chelsea? Because that just creates another narrative that is completely unnecessary.
Maybe, Sophie, I had a conversation about this today. Mm-hmm. Maybe, here's the crazy thing. Maybe it was the Premier League who told them not to say anything. Because Mikel Arteta thought that the game would be cancelled because apparently there was 4 players who had COVID. We've seen, I think it was Man City had 4 COVID cases and the game was cancelled. Mm-hmm. Our game wasn't cancelled. We had to deal with it. Our squad isn't so strong, and we couldn't deal with it. No excuse, but we just couldn't. We played poorly and lost the game. But how could one team have 4 cases and have it cancelled, and we have 4 cases and don't? Doesn't come out. Game had to be played. Remember, it's the first game of the season, so the curtain raiser. Friday night, Brentford, and could you imagine the anticlimax if that was cancelled? So that might be a real problem. Mm-hmm. Why it wasn't cancelled.
I have no doubt that this is going to be an issue this season. And we're going into the fall and autumn and winter periods. People get sick a lot during that time of year. And they're going to have to figure out how this is. Because now, if Pulisic has COVID, he's been training, I'm assuming, for the game on Sunday. So what does that mean about the bubble? Does that mean now the Chelsea players have to self-isolate? You've got this trigger.
Test. I think they test. Mm-hmm. They test.
Yeah.
Yeah, they test.
Well, It's crazy. I don't know. I think it's going to be really tricky this season how this goes down and how people deal with it. Okay.
Well, you made a good point last season, Sophie, where things like this could actually determine league positions. Mm-hmm. It really can determine league positions because you have a couple of your key players out, and that could hinder your progress in the Premier League.
Totally. Look right now. I mean, nobody wants any player being sick. No one wants anyone being sick at any time, no matter who you support. But Chelsea losing Pulisic for the game on Sunday is a big deal.
Yeah.
He is a threat. To me, he's their most dangerous player going forward. Of course, they have Lukaku now, but the two of them playing off each other, Kev, this changes things a lot because when you have if it's the same of us, like, look, we lose Thomas Partey. That makes a massive difference to our squad.
He's a supply line, isn't he? Pulisic is a quality player, he's a dribbler, and he's a supply line for the front who can beat a player. And when you've got players like that in your team and you lose them.
And Kev, they've got in the 6-yard box, he's very dangerous. He picks up those scraps, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's always there or thereabouts. Okay. Let's read out a couple of these. Johnny, we often forget that winning football matches should be the most important thing our club does. You play for pride, for honor, for the fans, for yourself, for the club. Arnie says 8 of our players are not fighters. If they lose the ball, they'll never track back to get the ball. You and David Hillier were talking about this a lot on the Tuesday-ish Club show on earlier this week, Kev, about the hustle, the lack of it, you know.
And that's why, you know what, a lot of people say that I'm Arteta's lawyer and this and that. The problem is I know what it takes to win for Arsenal. I know what it takes. And I've said this before on here. You get the best of everyone. Everybody wants to beat the Arsenal. So what does that mean? That means you've got to be tough, you've got to be mentally strong, and you've got to have that desire and will to win. You have to have it. Because you know what, Sophie? When you don't have it, it shows up against the Brentfords and the Burnleys of this world.
Yes.
It shows up. And you know what? And we look at it, Sophie, and you see it, and then you turn around and say, people say, oh, it's the manager. No, it's the players.
Yeah.
It's the players.
I know that you are staunch on that, and that
if you never change my stance. Never.
If you guys missed the Tuesday-ish Club episode this week, you should watch it, because the dialogue between Hilsey and Super Kev was incredible, and it's the kind of stuff that you just can't get anywhere. And you understand a little bit more why Kev is so staunch on how he sees the players, and David the same. So please do check that out. I put this one up for you. Ramsdale's first interview with Arsenal is so wholesome. We need players like this who love to play for us, hungry to prove, don't know why some idiots want to abuse him. We're going to get to that.
Sophie, one sec. I have to
plug in. Yeah, no problem.
Go on, darling. Sorry.
You know, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to save that towards the end. I just wanted to put it up so not forget about it, because it's really important, and it's going to be an important discussion. All right, 36 minutes in, so many comments. Virginia says, spot on as always, Super Kev. Tierney should make them do the huddle before every game.
Yeah, do you know what? That might scare a few. Because here's the issue with the huddle. If you're going to huddle and talk about, come on, you know, we've got to fight fire with fire, and then you don't do it, what's that going to look like? So what's the huddle for? You need committed people. You need committed people at Arsenal Football Club, and we have not had that in years.
I think the general consensus is unquestionably, and I'll wrap it up with Faris here, unquestionably there are problems, Kev. Do the players recognize that? And how do they affect change? The only way you can affect change is with change. And that means the turnover, right? So the proof is going to be in the pudding, you guys, in my opinion. Okay. Let's just say the team is Tierney, Ben White, Gabriel, maybe a new right back. You got Partey and Lokonga in midfield, or if it's going to be Xhaka, then you got ESR, Saka, Odegaard, whether it's Oba, Pepe, Laka, or a new centre forward coming in. This is going to be his team. I know there's still going to be like Xhaka, Oba, Laka, Pepe,
but the majority
Unai
is
and
team.
Wenger.
It's his team.
And there'll be no excuses, Kev. Zero.
100%. So we've said it from the end of last season. Now the pressure's on Arteta. It is on Arteta to get it right. And yeah, it's taken a bit of time, and there's still work to do, Sophie. But his neck is on the block to get Bruk. Let's be honest. I'm not. Listen, I'm not. I'm not the lawyer who is deluded. Like somebody said the other day, I'm deluded. I'm not. I know he could lose his job. I support the Arsenal manager, whoever is the Arsenal manager. If he gets sacked and somebody else comes in, I support him because I love Arsenal. But I cannot keep quiet about what I see, Sophie. And I don't see 100% commitment from the team. I don't.
Yeah. And that's going to be evident in his man management and ability to see if he gets a different reaction from this team against Chelsea, Kev. We'll get to the game at the end of the show, but this is These are going to be the key indicators, aren't they? In business, we call those KPIs, people. Key performance
indicators. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the last question, the bonus question for the evening. Here we go, everyone.
And the bonus. Number 3. Is the season a write-off if we don't strengthen enough? Is it a write-off if we don't strengthen enough? It's just question number 3, the bonus. Listen, like I said, I'm going to recap everything. Does sacking Mikel Arteta solve the problem? That's number 1. Are there more problems at the Arsenal than meet the eye? Especially with the Aubameyang and Lacazette situation going on. Have they got COVID? Have they not? Who knows? And last but not least, is the season a write-off if we don't strengthen enough? So, listen, I look forward to seeing you, squaddies, engaging with you, dealing with you, and some of you I might have to broke the neck, but we're going to have a good debate on Friday. You know the score. It's a Friday. Let's get it. Let's go for it. All the very best and take good care, everyone. Bye. Squaddies.
I love it. It's a good one because the truth is, Lord Gunner, I'll put you up. Roma wasn't built in a day.
Good saying.
The tough part is that Arsenal fans feel like Rome has been, the foundation, the bricks, whatever it is. We're talking like the Wenger era, Kev, right? In the Premier League. The FA Cups really masked all of our Premier League pain. And we still won, though. 4 trophies in our darkest hours, you guys. In our depths of despair. We won 4 trophies. We got to a Europa League final. And we got to a Europa League semi-final. Now, you could argue both of those were very, very disappointing. The Chelsea game in the final was a debacle, but you could see that those players weren't fighting for the team. They certainly weren't fighting for Unai. And Unai is the only team he's not won the Europa League with is the Arsenal. So that's why Kevin goes back to, what's the difference? Right, Kev?
Yeah.
So I do think that in the Premier League, we've got to be more competitive. So if he doesn't buy a right back or a centre forward, or he doesn't get an additional midfielder, we could find ourselves in 8th or 10th again. And now we're relying on new players to change our fortunes when they're coming into a team with some players that might be tainted. Is Oba tainted? Is Laka tainted? Is Pepe tainted? Bellerin's tainted. No one wants to buy him. That's the biggest concern, is if the Bellerins of the world are still there, the Kolasinacs of the world are still there. That's where I feel what you're saying becomes a bit of an issue.
So, look, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't want to reveal too much of where I'm going to go with this at the end. Arsenal being in this position, a lot of the legacy is what is the millstone around our neck. Because if you could shift the players out who we need to shift out, all of a sudden, then we could take our breath and then move forward. But the problem is, because of FFP and because of what we have to balance, we can't do that. We need to get rid of players big time. And just by paying them off actually hinders us. Because you're paying them off money that you probably want to give to the people who are coming in.
So this is Yannis, I think, captures Yasu Yannis, Diganis, Elpizola Naina Galamestizoiso. Rome wasn't built in a day, but are we going to risk sacrificing another 2 to 3 seasons and just wait for these youngsters to hopefully come good? He's kind of touching on what I said. Because you got to go back. That's what Arsenal fans are saying. It's not just now. How long? How long is this going to percolate?
Yeah, we don't. That you see, Sophie. Let me let you into a little bit of where I'm going at the end. Okay, just a little bit. That's the problem, Arsenal fans. You don't know. You can't put your finger on it, and it will drive you up the wall. But until we start doing the right things and getting the right character of players into the football club, have you noticed the same things keep cropping up? It keeps cropping up. They're not fighting. He's lost the dressing room. There's infighting inside. All these things keep going up. 17 years it's been. And only now we're starting to address some of our issues.
But only now are we. It was tough for Unai to get rid of the dross at the time because they were in the height of what they owned the dressing room, didn't they? The clique owned the dressing room. So he was on to a loser. And coming in from La Liga as well, I think people smelt a weakness in him and they preyed on that, to be honest with you. But as a manager, he should have had more balls to deal with that. Well, he was also under a different regime, Evan. You got different people making decisions now. Right? So here we go. Let's fire these up for you here. Let's see. Universal Greek bonus question right off. Will Casey write off the seat? No, I'm not going to go there. I'll do this. Virginia, we're still in the rebuilding phase. Still need to do a complete overhaul to move into contention for top 4. LG says the biggest transfer we could do is a new manager. Terry, we ain't going to get every position this window, and Ober and Laka are a clique and need breaking up. I do think that they're the last of the clique, Kevin. And I admire Ober and I admire Laka. And, you know, they're fun, good guys, but there's something there that isn't quite right with the relationship, especially with Ober since the North London derby. Kolasinac the same. Bellerin, I think, is a little bit tainted now too. So I think Terry brings up a really good point in that regards.
Yeah, look, just like anything, when they're your two most experienced strikers, but you haven't got really people of any experience really to replace them, we got to tread very carefully with that one because we're not a better team without them right now.
I'm going to read this next one to you from Faris. The season is already a write-off. Sunday will underscore that. Arteta will eventually fail, but the commercial and footballing abyss awaits. Well, I think we've been in an abyss in the Premier League for a long time. Kay Marion says we've spent 130 million. You better show me some graft with that. Liz, I'm waiting until the transfer window is shut before making a judgment. From there, the team has to gel and Arteta has to make better decisions and let the players take the handbrake off. I think we all agree with that one. Handbrake off. Gun Love, season's already a write-off. We've got many years of pain, but put your seatbelt on. Get some Pampers.
Well, did say it's a roller coaster, but bringing in better players, bringing in players who are committed to the badge, to the football club, is going to help. That's for sure.
Here's one from Cliff. We all love the Arsenal, but if the gaffer is bottling it, we're going to speak up just like you speak up when you see something, Casey. Look at Cliff, eh?
Cliff, define bottling it. What is he bottling? You see, people use all these things about bottling it. What is the manager bottling? Because you know what?
Playing a bit more attacking football, I think.
But that's the players, Sophie. How could we see attacking football from the team sometimes and not all the time? It makes no sense. Think about it.
Well, sometimes he gets it wrong.
Sends them out one week to attack and the next week not to.
I think how his man management may change attitudes and stuff like that. We've talked about that. It's not. We'll cover that.
Sophie, but this is just for Cliff. He makes that statement. Define bottling it.
Go on, Cliff. I'm going to leave it to you, mate. I'm going to let you fight your own battle. Knuckles. We can see, but we can see what they call a plan. All the players we bought are young. Youngsters, they're trying to build something where they can pull it off is a different story. Completely get that. Sean, honest question. I know some are so certain that a change in manager is all that's needed. If that happens and that manager doesn't get us top 4 or 6, are people advocating to sack that guy too? Well, of course. I mean, you know.
Yeah, even if it's Conte. You see,
Yes.
This is the thing. We had Arsene Wenger, who knows how to win the league, who knows how to beat Champions League all the time, and he couldn't do it. See, this is difficult times we're in. Very difficult.
Cliff is getting some love. We are all Cliff. Let's see what King says. Even if Laka and Oba especially are part of the clique, we need both players to be at their best to have any chance this season. Kev, you agree with that?
I do. I just think we're Martinelli, very talented. Balogun, very talented. Saka, Smith Rowe, very talented, but they're just too young. And Saka carried the team, but look who got the majority of the goals last season. It wasn't Saka. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oba still got 15 goals last season, I know, and he missed probably 30.
Yeah, it was bad.
But we need him and Laka because they're our most experienced guys.
Danny, good evening. Our friend from a Burkamp Wonderland. How you doing? Arteta is just like Emery, scared to lose, scared to play fast-flowing attacking football. This will be his downfall. This will be, Kev.
But here we go again, Sophie. How could we see fast-flowing football in some instances and not others? This is the point. Is it, as you say, the manager's giving out a different message? Because you know what? I've never been in the dressing room where the manager gives out different messages to not do this and not do that. Yeah, maybe there's times where you got to be a little bit cautious. But you're Arsenal, you know you still have to play and you still have to win the game. That's why I keep going back to it's the attitude of the players on the pitch. You've got to win your battles.
Knuckles is saying that it's like when we don't press together as a team, it's on the players, not the manager. We're getting the players thing here. Okay, Kev, why don't you give us your assessment? 51 minutes in, people. We're going to get Kev's assessment right now, and I will continue to put your points up on screen, as you know, here on the Highbury squad. We
Sophie,
do that.
how many in chat, please?
There's 500, Kev.
Come on, 250. Give me 250, guys. 250 if you love the Arsenal. Just touch that like button, smash it, do whatever you need to do, but just hit the like button. Minimum 250. Bruk up Spurs. Oh, and by the way, Sophie, all of these people who were coming at me about, oh, Nuno Espirito Santo in 6 weeks got Spurs playing their way. What happened? What happened yesterday?
Well, that was a completely different team. They changed every position.
Sophie, hold on a minute. Does that matter? If Arsenal picked a team, do you reckon that matters? They're still going to get the flack.
Oh, yeah, of course. And it was joyous to see that. Small victories for us.
So how can it be it was a different team? Is that the excuse? But isn't he supposed to be coaching so they all know?
Yeah, but there's a difference between...
No, there isn't. There's no difference. It's a Spurs team that goes out across that white line. So
okay.
It's the same with an Arsenal team that goes out across that white line.
Okay, so our game against West Brom in next week in the League Cup, right?
Which I'm covering for Sky, by the way.
Yes, nice, Kev. If he puts out Aziz and, you know, Balogun and Bella in it, I mean, if he changes, which I don't think he will, I think that's a competition that we could do well in this season.
We need to go for it,
and we haven't won it since you were there. You know, we haven't won it since what, 93, 92?
93.
Yeah. We should go for that. We should go for those small victories, right? Because what you're trying to do, you're trying to build a winning culture. Give them a taste. Give them a taste. That FA Cup win, it should have been like the nucleus. You want more, feel more. But it was almost like Socrates, it was his swan song. Oh, I won the cup with Arsenal. I'm leaving now. Oh, Kolasinac, I won another. You know, there was no...
feel like there was no impetus to push forward.
Yeah.
Because there was still a lot of work to get players out, get influential players out, Soph. And this is the legacy, the problem that we've had at Arsenal. So I'll tell you what, let me get into my first one.
Yes, do it.
Does sacking Arteta solve the problem? No, it doesn't solve the problem, as we've discussed at times, because the problem is players. But I understand if the results don't go the right way, Arteta will be gone. Let me reiterate that. If the results remain poor, Mikel Arteta will be sacked. But there brings an even bigger problem. Bigger. Because whoever you bring in next, if that manager then starts to lose, we are in even more problems, aren't we? You think about it, Soph. We are in the crap, basically. We are in the doo-doo. We are. Because let's be brutally honest. People always reckon it's the manager. Mikel Arteta's the fourth manager. So let's say we get him out. For the Contes of this world, we've said it. They need funds. They are not going to put their reputations on the line to come to Arsenal and not be able to bring in the quality players that they need. Pep Guardiola doesn't do it. Antonio Conte doesn't do it. Thomas Tuchel doesn't do it. So unless we start acting like a big club, and don't forget, Sophie, we have never done that. The Arsenal have never gone out and got the best managers. Never. So what makes people think that we're going to change that now? We had an opportunity to bring Allegri in before Arteta, but we didn't. Why? Because the owners are not going to bankroll that type of thing. They're not. Because maybe they've realized the playing staff and the squad, the mentality and the will to win isn't in this squad. And they need a manager, yes, a novice. He's the one who has to change the culture.
I hear you. I hear you. He does. And he's got I don't think he's going to be sacked this season. I don't think they'll do it. I think he'll get the entire season, unless there's something catastrophic that happens and we get to the North London derby, we have 1 point and we lose to them. And even then, I think that they will not move away from him.
One thing I do know, Sophie, we're going to have our bumps, right? We're going to have our ups and downs this season, that's for sure. But I think when you look at our full-strength team, we've not seen it yet. We're going to be all right with a full-strength team. We do need more players, yes, we do. But I think with a full-strength team, we're going to be all right and we're going to share some progress. Because that's the key. We've got to progress this season. We can't do another 8th. So we can't do another 8th.
No, we can't. We can't. All right, next one, Kev.
Yeah. So is there more problems on the Arsenal that meet the eye? I think 100 million %, Sophie. I think there's a cancer in that dressing room. And you know what the cancer's called, Sophie? The cancer is called, I'm all right. I'm all right, Jack. It's not, I love this club and I play for the Arsenal and I love the club. No, it's, I'm all right. Because I know, I've been in the dressing room. I know, David Ilya knows. A lot of the ex-players know. You see the ex-players coming out and saying stuff because they're frustrated because they know what it means to play for the club. There's a serious problem, and it is, I'm all right, Jack. They're looking after number 1 when, first and foremost, you look after the Arsenal first. Whether you're playing well or not, you put that graft in. And you win the game 1-0 to the Arsenal. And you put the body on the line, etc. But I don't see enough of it, Sophie. I really don't. And I'm seeing Mikel Arteta bring players in who are going to be more committed to the cause. He wants the players who ain't committed to the cause to leave, but he can't get rid of them. So that's the issue at times. But you know what, Sophie? The truth of the matter is, as an Arsenal fan myself, I want to see Arsenal players on the pitch giving it their all. If they lose, I'll accept it. I don't like losing, but I'll accept it. But the fact of the matter is, they do not give their all. Not everyone. And that's what we're contending with.
And, you know, I want to put Mikey's comment up because, you know, Odegaard's captain for his country. Sambi was captain at 21 under Vincent Kompany at Anderlecht. Tierney and Partey are leaders. I think really, Kev, I do not, and you know I've backed him, but in spots and mostly when he was going through it, I think he needs to really move away from Xhaka as captain of this team. I know to some people it's not important. I know we've had this conversation, but you really want to turn this around. Show them that, you know, Tierney's the leader now. He's the boss. He's going to be captain of Arsenal Football Club. If you really want to turn the corner and make people believe you're going in a different direction and you're building a new DNA and culture of what is acceptable at Arsenal Football Club, don't stand in front of the press and tell me that Xhaka represents the epitome of what Arsenal Football Club should be.
Sophie, listen, again, Xhaka's only captain because the other guys ain't there.
I hope so, Kev. I hope so. I don't even want Oba as captain.
Well, and this is the thing. From all of this, Sophie, I think this is where you're going. From all of this, and you tell me if I'm wrong, a new Arsenal with identity has to emerge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Your last one before you give your word on Ramsdale and the media.
Yeah, the last one, you know, is the season a write-off if we don't strengthen? I don't think it's quite a write-off as yet, but here's what I will say. Here's what I will say. When you look at what we need and when you look at what we have, it's difficult. We are still in a difficult position to play, to progress, solely because you need the right characters, you need the right team spirit, everything needs to be right for us to then start moving this squad and club forward. But if there's holes in it, like there are, we know we haven't got a right back, we haven't got this, we haven't got that. No matter who you play there to try and plug the gap, it's proven, Sophie, that they're not good enough. They could do a job for a minute, but over the course of a season, 38 games, it's been proven that we can't do it, Sophie. So, yeah, you might strengthen certain positions, but you know, if you strengthen somewhere, but you got weak sewing on the cuff of your jacket, the cuff's going to start unraveling. Wherever is the weak spot, that's where you're going to fall down. And that's where we have been falling down. So, again, there is still some work to do, getting in and getting out. And I think that this is where we're going to really see Edu earn his money.
Great stuff, Kev. Really good responses to your own questions. I love that we do that. You throw the questions out and then you answer them yourself. And some brilliant comments from everyone in chat tonight. All very respectful. Really proud of you guys. Hundreds of you. And it's such a great place to come and talk football. And we appreciate each and every one of you. I'm sorry if I missed any of your comments. You can always email us to thehighburysquad@gmail.com. I read all the emails to Kev. I share all of the YouTube comments with him. We're going to start our YouTube comment show as well next week. People don't want us to go. We're not going to go yet because there's one more important thing left. And I made a post yesterday on my Twitter. I don't know if I've ever had that many likes and retweets on a comment, Kev, because it was all about stop the madness. People abusing Ramsdale. I was so horrified. Look, I've been critical of Arteta, right? I've been strong on my thoughts regarding him, but I don't abuse him and I don't abuse his family and I don't go out of my way to just be a royal see you next Tuesday. Okay. What happened yesterday was a disgrace. And you know what? Kevin and I had a conversation because I picked out on a conversation on some networks, and it's also being blown up by people who have responsibility in how they talk about football. Kev, I want to hand it over to you because I shared a link that you put up on your channel yesterday, and I think it's really important that we get behind the team this weekend. Over to you.
Well, not only the team, Sophie, but the club. Here's the reason why. It is have a proper Arsenal frenzy out there. Everybody is having a dig, having a go, having a pop, talking about Odegaard's overpriced. You know, even to that, how is Odegaard overpriced? Where he's a Real Madrid player. He's a wonder kid who's been at Real Madrid, who, when he came in last season for half a season, made a bit of a difference, got injured, didn't quite hit the heights, but he made us better. Scored in the North London derby, our first goal, which was brilliant. He makes a difference. He's a quality. He's a captain at international level, and we're getting him for 30-odd million, with including the add-ons. And people are coming out and having a go at the football club. So just like if anybody's seen that George Graham talk after, you know, the Battle of Old Trafford, where he's got all the first team squad there and he's reading us the riot act, so to speak, but he's also telling us it's them against us now, people. It is the press against us. They've never liked us in the media. Any opportunity, they will dig the knife in. They will try and break our neck. But what we've got to do, we've got to be strong. We've got to stick together. And let's be honest. That what happened with Ramsdale is disgraceful. It's disgraceful. I remember Dave Seaman got some of that. And obviously there was no social media. But the fans weren't taken to Dave Seaman straight away. So, because he was replacing John Lucas, who was a legend, won at Anfield, etc. But Dave Seaman come in and proved himself. Let Aaron Ramsdale hasn't even kicked a ball or made a save for the football club yet. Yet, you know, abusing the poor guy. Leave the guy alone. Let him. He's Arsenal man now. Get behind him. Get behind the team. And whatever happens, let's use the eye test and see if the boys are fighting and trying, working hard for the Arsenal. Because let me tell you something. The moment all these people on the periphery and on the outside get in between us, we are divided. We are done. We are done. We've got to come together. Yeah, we do have our infighting. We do have our problems. Of course we do. And you know what, Sophie? We have our disagreements. 100% we have our disagreements. We're a dysfunctional family at times. But you know what happens with dysfunctional families, Sophie? When people start having a go, we come together because we are family. And that's what has to happen. And that's why I put that video out, because I'm seeing people taking pops who should really keep quiet, if I'm honest. Or if they've got something to say, there's a way how to say it. And they're not choosing to say it the right way. They're choosing to add fuel to the fire. And I don't agree with that.
Brilliantly said, Super Kev. There comes a time where we have to come together as a fan base. And I agree, Chris. The love Kev has for the club, get on board. 100% agree with you. And we are so happy, Manuel, that for you, your Kev's the reason that you watch this show. And a lot of people watch this show because having an ex-player on and talking about stuff like this, knowing what it takes to be a professional footballer, you know, knowing the blood, sweat, and tears, the sacrifices that you make, not seeing your family, your kids, you know, putting the hard graft in. And then this guy gets the dream move of his life and people want to have a pop at him. Were people having a pop at Sheffield United when they paid £18.5 million for Ramsdale? And his value's gone up because if it wasn't for him, Sheffield United would have leaked a lot more goals. And yeah, could he be better at shot stopping? He's going to improve. He's only 23 years old. Give him a break. He's in the England setup. He could be the England number one in years to come. And look, on this show, even Kev and I will go at it. You know, we'll agree, we'll disagree. And that is because we always try to have authentic, unfiltered, honest conversation, but it's always respectful.
And we'll go at it with the squaddies as well, Sophie, won't we?
We'll have a go at
it with the squaddies.
Yes.
We don't always see eye to eye, and I get that. Do you know what? That's healthy. That is really healthy that we don't see eye to eye all the time. Because I look at things differently to you guys. Of course I do.
You've played the game. I haven't.
But you know one thing, Sophie? One thing we do agree on. We love that badge. And we love that football club. And they do infuriate us at times. But we only want what's best for Arsenal. We want to win. I want to get back to where Arsenal winning. And because if you notice, when Arsenal win, the media landscape is very quiet. Very quiet.
It is. And Kev, we were furious when opposing fans abused Saka, and someone brought that up. And we shouldn't be abusing our own players. Be critical of them, but don't abuse them. And this is the beautiful thing, Manuel. I do get emotional sometimes. I'm a fan. We live and die on emotion. We're happy, we're sad, we're euphoric, we're pissed. That's what being a fan is all about. But I just think that this season, let it marinate, guys. Give it at least 10 games. Give it 10 games. And I know there's a protest. That fans are protesting the owners. They're not protesting the players. That's a difference. And people have every right to protest. And
let their voice be heard. 100%.
As long as it's peaceful, right, Kevin? That's all that matters. So, well said, Kev. Another great show tonight. Round of applause. One of the things I'm really proudest of the most about this show is...
Sophie, can I just say, anybody who hasn't watched it, could you repost that, Soph?
Yes, I will. Absolutely.
I think it's 4 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely. For sure, 100%. And I tell you something, one of the things that Kevin and I are very proud of on our show is our listeners, our squaddies, our new listeners. We've built over, I think it's almost 2,000 new listeners in the last month or so, 6 weeks. And it's been phenomenal. And everyone coming on the show, you guys are you represent everything.
That's good.
That is good about the Arsenal fans and the Arsenal universe, right, Kev? We love the conversation in the chat. You guys are smart. The way you all talk to each other, that there's friendships that have brewed, Kevin, from the chat as well.
Yeah.
I just want to say, as we go into this new season, we're going to give it our best. We're going to do it with respect. We're going to agree and disagree. But one of the things is that we can't do it without you. And you guys are top notch.
100%, Soph. 100%. The squaddies and the new people who are just finding out about the Highbury squad, who have said, how come I haven't heard of you? I'm not too sure about the algorithm, etc. But you've got to hit that like button. The algorithm gets out there, more people get to see us. Because at the end of the day, we tell it like it is. We tell it real from what we see. And respect to Sophie, respect to you squaddies who tell it the way you see it. Because you know what? Sometimes you go on emotion.
Yep.
And that's what you have to go on emotion because you're a fan.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to agree with me all the time. That's why I've got to try and Bruk your neck.
You know what? You might Bruk the neck, but I've got this. Boom.
Jeez. I'm staying well clear of that samurai, so and the cards.
All right, everyone, here we go. This is it. An hour and 15 minutes. It's only 15 minutes of added time. No cards tonight, Kev. No cards brandished tonight. This is
That's
excellent.
good.
Everyone
That's good.
survives. Let's give everyone our prediction for Sunday. And we will be back. Are you coming Sunday night? You're not doing the game Sunday night, are you, Kev?
No, I'm not doing the game
okay.
Sunday.
All right, cool. So we will be back on Sunday after the game to talk about Chelsea. Kev, what do you think?
Like I said, I think it might be a bit too soon for us because we don't have our boys up front. But you know what? I reckon we could get a draw out of it. And I know normally I'm always positive, but I just think we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to go 1-1. So 1 each.
Okay. I fancy, call me crazy, kids. You can call me a nut job. You could call me like, what's that? One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Cuckoo's nest, yeah.
I fancy us, Kev. I do. I think we're going to win 2-1.
Well, I tell you what, you're 1 out of 1 at the minute, so.
I do. I think there's something about, I was on TalkSport last night doing a show with a good Chelsea guy. It was a very respectful conversation, Kev.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't care how good we're playing. When we play Arsenal, something weird always happens.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to hear a Chelsea YouTuber and blogger and everything kind of be a little bit as bravado as they are. They've won the
apprehensive.
Yes. And I was like, that's what we want more of. We want to build on that with other teams and be better in the Premier League. And let's hope that we can do it this season. Now, I know people think I'm crazy and I'll put all your scores up, but yeah, I fancy us, Kev. So that's it.
Brilliant, Sophie.
All right.
What I will say, Sophie, is this. I love Arsenal to prove me wrong. I want Arsenal to prove me wrong. So I would love to be wrong and you be right again this week. I'd love it.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Brilliant. Absolutely. And you know what? That will it won't solve all our problems, but it will calm us a little bit more, to beat our rivals.
I would love that narrative the next day across all the media. I would love it. I would love it, guys. Get behind the team. Listen, Lukaku's coming in. He hasn't played a lot. I know he's good, but, right now it's 0-0. Anything can happen in a game of football. Kev,
That's
you
right.
take us out.
Right. Squaddies, thanks for coming in and joining us and being brilliant as always. Thanks for all your comments. Keep your comments coming and keep in that chat. Thank you so much to the host with the most, Sophie, the Samurai Queen. There you go. Listen, thanks again for joining us on Kev Says. Up the Arsenal on Sunday. Stick together. Let's back our players. And Squaddies, at ease.